राम कबीर शुरुआत कर।
ओम कबीराय नमः। ओम कबीराय नमः। ओम कबीराय नमः। जिंदगी छोटी मिली है, खुश रहो हर हाल में, खुश रहो हर हाल में, तुम खुश रहो हर हाल में। जिंदगी छोटी मिली है, खुश रहो हर हाल में। जो हुआ हासिल उसी में मस्त हो, अलमस्त हो। बंदे उतना ही मिलेगा जो लिखा तेरे भाग्य में। जिंदगी छोटी मिली है, खुश रहो हर हाल में। खुशियों में हर पल बिताना जिंदगी का नाम है। खुल के हंस ले आज प्यारे, क्यों पड़ा जंजाल में। जिंदगी छोटी मिली है, खुश रहो हर हाल में। सांसों की सरगम पे प्रभु के नाम की माला जपो। क्या पता प्रभु दे दिखाई सांसों की सुरताल में। जिंदगी छोटी मिली है, खुश रहो हर हाल में। बीता पल जो जा चुका है, बंद यादें हैं बसी। आने वाला कल छुपा है वक्त के ही काल में। जिंदगी छोटी मिली है, खुश रहो हर हाल में। जिंदगी छोटी मिली है, खुश रहो हर हाल में। राम कबीर।
राम कबीर। ओम कबीराय नमः। राम कबीर पूर्वीबेन, राम कबीर કેન્સાસ થી તમે આજે જે એક સુંદર મજાના તમારા સ્વરથી, તમારા લુકથી જે આખું આધ્યાત્મિક વાતાવરણ સર્જી દઈ રહ્યું એ બદલ તમારો ઘણો ઘણો આભાર. અને શ્રી રામ કબીર ભક્ત સમાજ તમારો આભાર વ્યક્ત કરે છે. રામ કબીર સર્વ ભક્તજનોને, સર્વ જે જોડાય છે કબીર વિઝડમમાં, એ બધાને એક પ્રેમથી રામ કબીર. આજે જેમ કે આપણે બધા જાણીએ છીએ તેમ રવિવારની સવાર અને કબીર વિઝડમ નો સ્ટેજ ભક્ત સમાજને એક ભેગું કરી પોઝિટિવ થિંકિંગ અને જગતની અંદર વાઇબ્રેશન ફેલાવવાનું જે કામ કરે છે, એ માટે તમે બધા જ એકત્રિત થાવ છો. અને એવા પ્રસંગ માટે તમારે બધાના હું હૃદયપૂર્વક સ્વાગત કરું છું. આજે બંને બહેનોએ, આમ તો આપણી ગુજરાતી ભાષામાં કહું, ભક્ત ભાષામાં કહું તો નણંદ ભોજાએ જે વાતાવરણ આપણા માટે સર્જ્યું છે, એ વાતાવરણ આખા વિશ્વની અંદર એનું એક વેબ્સ વાઇવ્સ એના સરસ મજાના કે જેના થકી બધાના જીવનમાં ખુશી આવી ગયા છે અને એ બધી ખુશી ટકી રહે અને એ ટકાવવાની જવાબદારી આપણાને બધાને સોંપતા એમણે બહુ સુંદર રજૂઆત કરી અને આખા વિશ્વમાં પહોંચશે જ એનો એક મને વિશ્વાસ છે. એનું કારણ એ છે કે આજે આપણી જોડે જે વક્તા પણ આવે છે એ પણ વિશ્વના એક સ્ટેજ પરથી આવે છે. અને જેમ કે આપણે મોસ્ટલી ભારતમાં સાંભળતા હોઈએ છીએ આ પ્રોગ્રામ, આપણે અમેરિકામાં સાંભળીએ છીએ, પનામામાં સાંભળીએ છીએ, પરંતુ અત્યારે જે આપણી સાથે આજે જોડાવાના છે એ મહંત આપણી સાથે ઓસ્ટ્રેલિયા, ન્યુઝીલેન્ડ, ફિજી થી આવે છે. અને આપણે અમેરિકાની અંદર આજે જોઈએ છીએ, અત્યારે ઝૂમ પર પણ હું જેને જોઈ શકું છું, એ બધા મોસ્ટલી ફર્સ્ટ જનરેશન કે સેકન્ડ જનરેશન છીએ આપણે. અને એ ફર્સ્ટ જનરેશન ને સેકન્ડ જનરેશનને એક ક્વેશ્ચન ઓલવેઝ મળે છે અને એ ક્વેશ્ચન છે કે આપણે આપણી પેઢીમાં જે ભક્ત સમાજના સંસ્કારો થકી, જે કબીરજીના આશીર્વાદ થકી, જે કબીરજીના નોલેજ થકી આપણે આટલે સુધી આવ્યા, આપણા જીવનની અંદર, આપણા કૌટુંબિક સંસારની અંદર, સમાજની અંદર જે પ્રસન્નતા આપણે ખુશી રાખી છે, એ ખુશી હવે પછીની જનરેશનમાં કેવી રીતે પાસ કરીએ, કેવી રીતે આપણે એ લોકોને એન્કરેજ કરીએ, કે એ લોકોને બતાવીએ કે વોટ ઇઝ ધ વેલ્યુ ઓફ વોટ વી ગોટ ઇટ ફ્રોમ ભારત, આપણી સંસ્કૃતિમાં આપણે જે મળેલું છે એનું કેવી રીતે આપણે સ્પ્રેડ કરીએ, એનો પાસ કેવી રીતે કરીએ છોકરાઓને. આજે બધાને આપણને આ જ ક્વેશ્ચન છે. તો એ ક્વેશ્ચનનો જીવંત અનુભવ જે કરે છે, કે જેમણે અત્યાર સુધી જીવે છે, અને એ પણ આપણી જોડે જે આજે વક્તા છે, એ વક્તા ફોર્થ જનરેશન ફિજીની અંદર, અને એ પણ એમના પણ જે દાદાના ફાધર, એટલે કે એમના ફાધરના ફાધરના ફાધર જ્યારે ફિજી આવ્યા કબીરજીના ઉપદેશોના જ્ઞાન લઈને, અને એમણે જે એમના બાળકોની અંદર જે જ્ઞાન પ્રસાર, જેમણે સંસ્કૃતિનો ફેલાવો કર્યો છે, તો એ આપણી સાથે ફોર્થ જનરેશન વાળા વ્યક્તિ આવે છે. અને એ ફોર્થ જનરેશન એકદમ, આપણે ઘણીવાર એવું કહીએ કે ભાઈ કંઈક નહીં ચાલતું હોય તો આપણે આ ધર્મમાં જતા રહેવું, પરંતુ એવી રીતે નથી. એ એક બહુ સક્સેસફુલ પર્સન છે, અને જે નોઝ કે વોટ ઇઝ અ કબીરજીસ વેલ્યુ, કબીરજીસ નોલેજ વેલ્યુ, અને એ નોલેજ જીવનમાં કેવી રીતે પ્રસાર કરીએ, આપણે કેવી રીતે આપણે જીવનમાં અપનાવીએ, એના માટેની વાતો કરશે. એક વિશેષ આપણે બહુ જ મહત્વની વસ્તુઓમાં જાણવાની એ છે કે આજનું જે બહુ સરસ મજાનો એપિસોડ છે, એ એપિસોડની અંદર આપણને બહુ જ જાણવાનું મળશે કે આજે યંગ જનરેશન પણ કબીરજીના કેટલો વિચાર અને કેટલું ડીપ થિંકિંગ છે લોકોનું. તો વધુ હું સમય ન લેતા હું એમને જ ઇન્વાઇટ કરું છું. તો આપણી સાથે જે છે, સોરી, ઓકે, આપણી સાથે અત્યારે મહંત શ્રી બિમલ ચંદ્રજી, આમ ફિજી, ઓસ્ટ્રેલિયા, ન્યુઝીલેન્ડમાં મહંત તરીકે આપણે સેવા આપે છે. અને એમની એ સેવા કેમ આપે છે, કેવી રીતે આપે છે, કેવી રીતે આવ્યા છે, એના વિશે આપણે થોડી વાર્તાલાપ કરીશું. તો नमस्कार, राम कबीर साहब बनगी, बिमल साहब जी।
साहेबंदगी, राम कबीर, आप सबको, हमारे जितने हंस जन हैं, आप सब जुड़े हैं, आप सबको मेरा साप्रेम, राम कबीर, साहेबंदगी, साहेबंदगी, साहेब।
तो आपके साथ वो डिस्कशन में हम पहले थोड़ा क्वेश्चन आपको पूछेंगे, जिससे
अवश्य
हमारा थोड़ा क्लैरिटी हो जाए कि हम
जी सर।
हम क्या। तो आप हमें बताएं कि आप वो फिजी में कुछ सेटल हुए हैं, ऐसी बात हुई है हमारे।
जी
तो फिजी में आप कैसे आए, आपका जनरेशन, आप पहले अभी आए, क्या है, तो इसके बारे में थोड़ा सा हमें बता दीजिए।
जी जी हाँ, सो 1876 में हमारे जो एंसेस्टर्स थे वो भारत से फिजी आए। दे वर ब्रॉट अंडर द इंडेंचर्ड लेबर सिस्टम, यानी कि उनको बताया गया था वहाँ भारत में कि बहुत विशाल देश है, वहाँ आपको सब सुविधाएं मिलेंगी, आप अपना धर्म का प्रचार कर सकेंगे और पैसे भी अच्छे हैं, और आप आए और so my great grandfather boarded the ship और he was he came from a family which produced Mahants. So every generation had a sadhu, a Mahant in the family. So he was next in line to become a Mahant, or he was already in the process of becoming a Mahant. और he was newly married and but the opportunity came, so he thought कि उन जमाने में भारत में शायद बड़ी बड़ी फैमिलीज होती थी, एक्सटेंडेड फैमिली में वो रहते थे, so he thought कि by him going to Fiji he'd be able to earn that money and also contribute to his family and things like that, as we all migrants do. आप सबने इस experience को किया होगा. So he boarded the ship. So I think they boarded from Kolkata, and my great grandfather was from Bihar, and I think my great grandmother was from Chhattisgarh, which is now Chhattisgarh. Before it was Madhya Pradesh. So they boarded the ship and arrived in Fiji after 3 months. And they were in the process, as they do, they were sort of mistreated and those things happened. And then when they were brought to Fiji, they were put on an island in a quarantine, and in little coolies, they were all crammed in. And then they were sent, so sometimes families were separated, and then they were sent to different parts of the island. And they saw there was nothing, just white, pristine beaches and jungles and things like that. So they were allocated to different sectors of the island, and then they were asked to lay railway platforms. They were asked to clear land to farm, things like that, build towns, look after the farms for the British and things like that. So life was pretty tough, actually. They went through a lot. And my great grandfather, being from a sadhu family from Sadhguru, so he brought little jo bhi kuch lekar aaye, whatever he brought from India. They used to congregate at night after a tough day out in the fields, and they would bring out khajri. Khajri is a little instrument, and they started playing our Guru Sahib's Vani. But they had to do it very secretly so that the British Kulumbar, they called, didn't hear them. So yeah, life was like that. So after days hard work and all the tough things that they've been through, at night you would hear them sing the chowki, as we call it. We call it the chowki bhajan, which is just played on the khajri, and then they would entertain themselves through Sadhguru Sahib's Vani. So I said the 20-30 years passed on, and then they saved their time, and as they said, and then they were allocated land in different parts of the island. So my grandfather was given this piece of land up in the hills in a small town. And he was I think he was the only Kabir Pant. I mean, there were other like South Indian, North India, I say, different parts of the island. So what he did was he took few sadhus and found that longest piece of bamboo that he could find in that area, and he brought it. And then he hoisted a white flag in front of the land that he had just acquired, or he was given to farm on and start his family. So he put this massive bamboo and wrapped it with white cloth, and cut a triangular piece of cloth and wrote Satyanam in Hindi, and he hoisted it and said that this is our Panth, this is the start of Kabir Panth in Fiji. And then word spread that there is a sadhu who lives in this part of town, and there were others on the other side of town, or other side of island, which is now known as Suva. So there were more sadhus that had arrived during this time from India. So they started traveling, and then my great grandfather's kuti, as he called, used to be a stopover place for them. And then word spread, and they started coming together. They then started the Kabir Panth movement in Fiji. And the aim was to to have their own temple. They also wanted to start choka and arti and continue the traditions. So they had some had the Ramayani, some had the bijak and kisi ke paas, and no one had a complete set of anything. So they just put together all these little couplets and things that they had, and they came up with this. So they brought their own books, and then they started singing the bhajans, and then they performed their fest choka and things like that. But life was still tough. They still were not given all the money that they earned really from the farms and things like that. Whatever they could, they contributed to try and establish their fest temple in Fiji. But they were successful. They came up early 1900s. They built their fest temple, which they called a Kabir Vishwa Mandir, which we believe is one of the first temples. They believed our ancestors believed it was the first Sadhguru Kabir temple that was built outside of India, and that was one of their big achievements. So by this time, my grandfather was born. This was early 1900s, and the second generation started coming in, and their aim was to take everything that they learned from the first generation and move the prachar of Sadhguru Kabir Sahib in the islands forward. The second generation decided to have bigger families, and so that they can spread and they can have more followers. So I say they kept moving the religion ahead. My grandfather was believed, again, he kept that tradition of hoisting that flag every year since my great grandfather started, and he completed the kuti, and all the sadhus from all over the island used to come and stay in Tavua. And then he would, by this time, they could travel across to the other side of the island and meet other sadhus who had little congregations around the island. So I say they started spreading the word of Sadhguru Kabir Sahib. They performed Aarti Choka, which is currently, as we say, the Vanshavali, the Dharamdas Vanshavali Choka Aarti. But still, abhi tak unko koi contact nahi tha India se. They were just doing it through whatever they had brought with them. They wrote their own Choka Chandrika and things like that from little knowledge that everyone had, and they brought it all together in the cane fields back then. And yeah, ऐसे उन्होंने start किया Fiji में अपना धर्म प्रसार. Then 1970s the population grew, and they thought that there's a need for another bigger temple, and they said, okay, from our income, they'll donate 1/5 of the income to try and build that temple, and that temple was inaugurated in 1991, and it was done by Baba Ram Sarup Das ji from Jamnagar. He was the first saint to visit Fiji in 1980s. By this time, Fiji was established. There were a lot more businesses. Lots of business people came from Gujarat as well and established their own businesses in Fiji. There was a lot more contact with India. So 1980 was when Baba Ram Sarup Das ji visited Fiji, and he found out about the Kabir Panthis in Fiji, and he went back and also supported them from there. He started sending materials back to them, and they continued the traditions. And then my parents, they were born, as I said, they were a bigger family, and there was 12 of them, and in total. So by the time I was born, we could the Choka Aarti was being performed on a month-on-month basis. So I could see the family coming together, and the cooking, as we all remember, when we were children in extended family, open fires, and they would cook everything at home for offering as bhog in the Choka Aarti. And I would see the Mahant Sahib actually sitting and doing those little things like tying the mango leaves around the chandewa and the pan leaves around the chandewa, then putting a white cloth and the base of the chandewa, and putting the rice flour and then using their fingers, making the small, and everything had an explanation. Why did they put the canopy on top? And I was very attracted to that, and I would ask question like, why are we doing this? And they had answers for everything. They would explain in from the Ramayana why it was being done, and that attracted me. Or that had a big impact on my life, and I wanted to move the tradition where families came together, everyone came together. That was the only way to socialize back then. Was when Mahant Sahibs came and performed the Chok Aarti. Our family came together, and so my great grandfather was a Mahant. He passed on the tradition to my for grandfather. He was a sadhu and a Mahant. Then my older uncle was chosen as one of the Mahants, and then my father was chosen as the second. So there's the three generations of Mahants in the family. I was very little back then, like 5 or 6. I became initiated when I was 6 months old. So my grandfather made sure every grandchildren that he had, as soon as they were born, they were initiated in the Kabir Panth by a Mahant. And when I was born, I was 6 months when my Guruji initiated me into the Panth, and then my attraction to it became. And my Guruji actually prophesied to my grandfather that Mahant Sahib, you don't have to worry. You now have another generation of Mahants that are born in your family now. So I had that added responsibility on me, which I didn't know about. So. But yes, that was the Ashirvad, and it all just happened naturally, just by seeing, and it just attracted me more and more. Yeah, I think I was 8 years old when I inside my Aj's kuti there was a secret place where he kept his granth, and everything was covered in white cloth, and there was Guru Sahib's. A photo of Guru Sahib, and every morning he would do his meditation, and my grandmother would clean everything every day. So I would secretly sneak into that room in the kuti, and I started reading the Kabir Mansoor. It was a very old copy of Kabir Mansoor, and I started reading that when I was 8 years old. And then the Vani, the knowledge that it was there, just kept. वो बोलते हैं, it's an ocean of mercy. I just it is Kabir Sagar, which is a vast ocean. So I started diving into it, yeah, at a very young age. So.
Wow, excellent. आपका अभी एक शब्द सुन के हमें थोड़ा प्राउड होने लगा है कि कबीर जी का जो 4th जनरेशन तक ये पहुंचना, उसका जो सिस्टम आप जो बोल रहे थे, चौकारटी के बारे में आपने बोला, आपने वो कबीर जी का वो कबीर मंसूर बोला, तो ये सभी सुन के आपके मुख से सुन के थोड़ा सा अचंभा लगता है कि ये पॉसिबल हो क्या। और मैं सभी दर्शकों को भी बता दूं कि अभी वहां पे जहां से बोल रहे हैं, वहां पे ऑस्ट्रेलिया में अभी 3 बजे है, वहां पे 3 बजे हमसे जुड़े हुए हैं 3 बजे से, और वो सुबह में, और वो भी मंडे हो गया है वहां पे। तो हमारे लिए आपने बहुत अच्छा सा समय निकाला, इतना अच्छा सा हमें बताया कि ये सभी हो सकता है परदेश में भी। इसके लिए भारत माता ही जरूरी नहीं है, भारत माता से वो संस्कृति लेके हम जब भी आते हैं तो हम स्प्रेड कर सकते हैं। और आपने बताया कि वो तभी तो बहुत, जैसे ना, रिसोर्सेज वर वेरी लिमिटेड, ये रिसोर्सेज लिमिटेशंस में सभी ने मिलके कैसे उसका आगे किया, और वो भी हम देखेंगे, आपसे सभी कुछ सुनेंगे, आपसे सभी कुछ जितना हम लूट सके आपसे लूट लेंगे कबीर जी का ज्ञान। तो अभी यहाँ पे अमेरिका में और हर एक देश में अभी तो ये हो गया कि जो जनरेशन है उसके जो बच्चे हैं जो तो उसको क्या करते हैं कि बहुत पेरेंट्स लोग बहुत मेहनत कर कर करके बच्चे को पढ़ाते हैं कि वहां के लाइफ में वो थोड़ा एजुकेशन ले ले, एजुकेशन लेने के बाद कोई अच्छी सी जॉब ले ले, कोई समाज में भी पैसा अच्छा सा कमा सके। तो ये सभी यहाँ पे हम लोग भी करते हैं, दुनिया में अभी तो ये कॉमन हो गया है सभी। अभी सभी पेरेंट्स का यही होता है कि भाई हमारा बच्चा कैसे एजुकेशन और बेस्ट में बेस्ट एजुकेशन प्राप्त कर ले। तो आपके जीवन में क्या ऐसा हुआ था कभी, और
जी
आपने
सर।
कैसे, आपका एकेडमिक अचीवमेंट क्या है, थोड़ा सा इस पे डाल दीजिए नजर।
Sure, sure. Yes, Sahib. As I said, I was more trying to become a mystic because of the impact of Sadhguru Sahib on me. But yes, I realized from my farming background, from what I could see, that of course, without education, it is not possible to go out and do things. And I was of the firm belief कि when a sadhu or a mahant stands on their own feet, then they can do better for the religion. As I could see, कि my great grandfather, my grandfather, they had that passion to serve, but they couldn't. They were limited, and तो उन्होंने यही रखा. The ancestors always said कि we've spent our days in the farms, but we want our next generations to move on and achieve the best education that they can have. So by this time, my father was. Though they were brought up on the farm, he was one of the very first kids to actually go to high school, and then they could only go to high school. They couldn't go further than that due to the commitments of the family and the responsibilities. So he moved out, and then I came in. तो मुझे फिर I had the opportunity to finish my education in Fiji. तो मैं फिर वहां से यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ द साउथ पैसिफिक में बैचलर ऑफ साइंस करने गया. Though I had a scholarship to become a doctor, but because my passion was more to become a Mahant at some stage, I left that because the sight of blood and things like that, I couldn't take it for more than a week. So I left that and I came to do a Bachelor of Science in Computing Science. So I had to change within a week. Then I finished that and I started as a ERP consultant. So I started my implementing SAP, and I was one of the first consultants to put together a system, SAP system for a business in Fiji. So after 3 years in Fiji, I thought like um, let's move on and let's move to greener pastures as my ancestors did. But by this time, I was getting more and more into Sadhguru Sahib. Though I was not a Mahant, I was already sort of practicing to take the next steps. But life was such by this time. During this time, there were also political upheavals and things like that had happened in Fiji, especially against towards the Indian migrants and things like that. So I decided to move to Australia. So I moved here in 2007 में यहाँ पर आया और फिर यहाँ पर I pursued a Master of Business Administration. फिर वो करने के बाद I set up SAP practice. और फिलहाल में मैं यहाँ पर I'm a director for Fujifilm Business of Innovations. उनका जो Asia Pacific का business है, मैं वहाँ director हूँ, and I look after the expansion of the business in China and the rest of the Asia and Pacific. और फिर उसके बाद में I'm also director for few IT companies यहाँ पर. So that was my journey towards with education. Yeah.
वाह, इट्स गुड, अमेजिंग। अभी तो आपसे आप पे प्राउड होने लगा हमें कि वहां पे भी आपने वो अचीवमेंट, बहुत अच्छा सा एजुकेशनल अचीवमेंट करा, और आप में सक्सेस के लिए जो पोजीशन आपके पास है वो भी बहुत बहुत बढ़िया है। आपको अभी मैं एक क्वेश्चन नहीं पूछूंगा, वो है कि कितना पैसा बनाते हो। नहीं नहीं, वो नहीं पूछने वाला। फिर भी मैं दूसरा अभी बात ये कर रहा हूँ कि यहाँ पे हम ही जब मिलते हैं कहीं कभी किसी बहुत आदमी को, तो वो बोलते हैं कि हम तो यहाँ पे पढ़े लिखे हैं, हमारे बच्चों के पास भी पढ़ते बहुत है, तो उसके पास टाइम नहीं रहता, इसके लिए टाइम नहीं रहता, उसके लिए टाइम नहीं रहता, वो कुछ नहीं करता। तो
Exactly.
ये एक एक्सक्यूज हो गया है हमारी सोसाइटी में कि
जी.
अमेरिका में पढ़ा है, अंग्रेजी में पढ़ा है, तो नहीं, उसके पास तो अभी वो तो बहुत पढ़ा पढ़ा लिखा है, तो वो कबीर जी का ज्ञान वगैरह कुछ नहीं करेंगे। आपने कोई कबीर जी के बारे में, संत कबीर जी की के ऑफिशियली कोई गुरु पद्धति से कहाँ पे सीखा? कहीं पे, जैसे भारत में ही अभी तक तो मानते थे कि भाई वहां पे ही मिलता है कबीर जी का आत्मा, तो
जी जी
तो उसका कोई का आपका स्टेप हुआ कुछ?
जी जी है। सो आई वाज ऑलवेज, जिसे आपने कहा पीपल आजकल, वन 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 थिंग दैट ड्रोव मी वाज अ साकी ऑफ साहिब, सदगुरु साहिब ना। आज कल करे सो आज कर, आज करे सो अब, पल में परले होएगा बहुरी करेगा कब ना। एक हमारे छोटे छोटे कपलेट्स होते थे साहिब को। सो दिस मोटिवेटेड मी अ लॉट, एंड दैट्स द रीजन आई, uh, with all my other achievements and professional achievements and things like that, I kept my interest in my pant. And so I came here, I settled there. So we were expecting our first child when from somewhere Sahibji opened up like the calling for to save. And I started, I received a call, and that was from other Kabir Pant families that were here, that knew my grandfather as a sadhu, and Mahant, my grandfather, used to visit their family. And they called me and said, Sahib, why don't you come? We know you are young, but we feel there's a need for our someone to lead our community here. So I was the responsibilities were increasing. As I said, हम अपने पहले child को expect कर रहे थे, but to me that call was such a big call to save our community. And I said, nah, it was already in the blood. So Sahib opened up that, and I went out and did my first satsang here in Australia. And then we started, the Sahib just kept joining, more people started, they were Kabir Pant families, and we kept building the blocks. So this is, I think, in 2011. Um, uh, but I was still serving as a diwan, as they said, like someone who's training to become a Mahant. So we started more with weekly satsang programs. Once a week we would catch up, we would talk on Guru Sahib's Vani Vachan. And then we were trying to, as I said, कि यहाँ पर there was not a Mahant that could perform the Chauka Aarti. We could only do up till Astuti program. तो ऐसे हम करते रहे, और 2017 में, back then, if यहाँ पर if we needed a Mahant, we had to call someone from Fiji. So I said to my dad, who was serving as a Mahant in Fiji, I want to pursue the journey of a Mahant. So ऐसा मैंने 2017 में I did take the vidhi was done through the systems in Fiji, but I didn't stop. कि चलो अब मैं Mahant हो गया. I just continue. I wanted to explore this more. I wanted to dive into it more. So I said, nah, we've just learnt. Sahib's Sadhguru Kabir Sahib is such a vast ocean, as I said. I have to go. I have to learn, and someday he'll open something for me in India, where I may be able to go and explore the way they do things. I was rather fortunate, as I said. Sahib just kept opening and taking me to the next level. Some days on the Purnima day, I would be by myself and my wife. We would just sit and do Aarti Puja, because I lived in the city, and in middle of the week, aisa hota tha. And some days I would be doing satsang just by myself. If she was still at work, I would sit in front of a wall, and it was just my Sahib. He would sit in front of me, and I would be reading the satsang to him. I kept going. But Sadhguru Sahib blessed me. So in 2017, I became a Mahant. Mahant hone ke baad, I said, Sahib, I will not just go out there and start performing Chauka Aarti and stuff. The day you choose me to serve you as your Mahant, I'll then start. So Sahib, there was a calling, and 6 months में यहाँ पर one of our son Hans passed away, and then Sahib, it was all destined to happen. So I was actually asked by the family to help. So as I left it to Sahib, Sahib made that calling through the family, and then I started performing Chalawa Aarti and things like that over here for families. So my starting was just to save the families in need, and help them get over their tough times. ऐसा मेरा belief था. But then more people started joining, and then we started performing Chowk Aarti, which is the Anandi Chowk Aarti, and satsangs and astutis for people. So ऐसा चलता रहा. And then COVID came, we had to do it online, but with 5 people, we were still able to perform Chowk Aarti and things like that. And then 2022, I received a call from our Dharamadikari, Shri Dharamadikari Sahib Ji from Krasya Gadi. He called me and said, Mahant Sahib, we are having a Ekotri Chowk Aarti here in India. And we've seen you online, and we'd like you to come and visit us, and we'd really be blessed to have you, and things like that. So that call meant a lot to me. One day I was going to perform a Aarti Puja and I was driving, and the call came. I took the call. So and I didn't even think twice. I said, Sahib, I'll come. Because I had already said to Sahib I wanted to go and explore this. I didn't even know where Karasia was, and India being India, I had never been to India before. So I took about 2 days journey to arrive in Karasia, which is in Chhattisgarh, and another 5 hours from Raipur. I thought it would be somewhere in like in the middle of a big city, such a big program is being organized. But when I arrived in Karasia, the love and the pure love that people gave, it was just blissful. The sadhus, the saints that were there, and I met so many people. I let myself loose. I was just in that blissful state. I was just carried away, I would say, and met so many people. This was the beginning of 2023. And then Sahib held my hands and took me to Panch Shri Hajur Ardhanam Sahib, who's our current Acharya for Lahar Tara Dham and the Karasia Gadi. And he recommended me as a Mahant, and I was initiated as a Mahant through our Vanshavali, our Nad Vansh system. I was provided a Panja वहाँ पर जी हाँ. And this happened during the Ekotri program. And I was rather a very fortunate one कि it doesn't normally happen that Mahants are initiated into the system during Ekotri. So that was my journey. Yeah.
बहुत बहुत अच्छा कि आपने बहुत मेहनत की वैसे
जी. And
तो
as I said, Sahib, I took a step. Sahib took 5 steps for me. That's what I could see. I had no contact with India, and receiving that call, to me it was just like that I just took 1 step, but my Sadhguru Sahib took 5 steps for me and started opening this for me. Yeah.
या तो फिर इसमें तो जैसे हम लोग बिलीव करते हैं ना कि
जी.
आप धर्म में हो तो आपकी जॉब पे इफेक्ट करता है, आपका जो
Exactly.
डे टू डे जो अभी यहाँ पे जो होता है प्रोफेशनल लाइफ आपकी जो है मनी मेकिंग व्हाट एवर द रिसर्च द एक्टिविटीज यू डू, तो वहां पे आपको कॉन्फ्लिक्ट नहीं होता कुछ?
To be honest, I feel being a sadhu and going to work is blissful in its state, because you are जैसे अभी हमारा meditation का समय हो गया यहाँ पर, and we don't have any expectations from anyone. हम क्या है, we are already detached from day to day. कभी-कभी if someone's feeling down, yes, our work is very KPI based. We are consultants. I have consultants working over the world for me. So I have never, I could feel being positive myself. I was able to drive my team to be positive all the time. I would, in meetings, I would use Sadhguru Sahib's little couplets, as I said, during project management, because our projects are all project driven, they are project managers. I would be saying to them, "Aaj kal kare so aaj kar, aaj kare so ab na, pal mein parle hoega, bahuri karega kab." So if someone was getting behind and things like that, I would tap their shoulder and say these things to them, and they would say, "This is amazing," and they'll just pick themselves up and do it, and that actually helped me a lot. As I said, I took one step, Sahib took 5 steps, and even in life, he opened up things for me, and I was able to do maybe the energy that I get in the morning. I'm able to do this. I was some days I would be returning on Friday from a flight, overnight flight, 12-hour flight from China to Sydney, and I'd arrive early in the morning, and I'll be with an hour or 2 hours sleep, I'll be back with all my puja stuff ready for Chauka Aarti as well. So the energy that Sahib gives me is just phenomenal.
ये तो सुन के जैसे ना सोना में सुगंध मिल गया ना, वैसा हो गया है कि बिनो आपने बताया कि भाई ये जब भी आपकी प्रोफेशनल लाइफ में ये जो स्पिरिचुअल लाइफ है और वो दोनों ऐसे कंबाइन करके आप सक्सेस की और बढ़ रहे हो आगे आगे।
जी
तो अभी एक एक चीज ये करते हैं कि अब मान लो कि मैं कोई अमेरिकन बॉय हूँ, अमेरिकन में जैसे मैंने एजुकेशन और मैंने वो भी आपको बताया कि कहीं धर्म और प्रोफेशनल लाइफ मिक्स नहीं करते हम लोग कभी कभी।
जी
तो अभी मैं ऐसा एक बच्चा हूँ जिसको आपको कुछ इंग्लिश में ज्ञान देना है कि ये कैसे हो सकता है, कैसे पॉसिबल, आपने कैसे एक्सपीरियंस किया, और इज इट पॉसिबल फॉर हिम टू डू इट और नॉट। और
जी
मैं स्क्रीन से निकल जाता हूँ, आप सीधा इनसे बात करिए इंग्लिश में। ओके
जी जी साहब।
तो
Hi to everyone. Sahib Bandagi, Sahib Bandagi, Sahib Bandagi, Ram Kabir. Yes, as someone who's born away from Bharat or India, it is indeed it is indeed a challenge to spiritually take your beliefs and follow your beliefs. I was one of them, one of the lucky ones that decided to dive deep into it and carry forward the traditions, the culture, and of course the teachings of our Sadguru Paramatma. I feel as we see these days, there's a lot of technology, and one of the things that Sadhguru Sahib said, पोथी पढ़ पढ़ जग मुआ पंडित भया न कोय ढाई अक्षर प्रेम का पढ़े सो पंडित होए. These days with AI, robotics, autonomous cars, you would see there's a lot of things around us that make our life easier. But though there's all these facilities that are available to us, there are more people there that are sick. There are more people that are suffering. They are traveling through mental conditions and things like that. And I believe achieving and being successful is part of our day-to-day operation, as things are said. But together with it, being spiritually aligned with our Sadguru or anyone you believe that will help you get over the vast ocean that we are all floating through, or that we are all trying to be able to come back to our home. And to me, sitting down with my Sadguru, there's a moment where I feel sitting by myself is actually detaching from the world, and meditating in his name, and saving him gives me profound satisfaction that I have done something, and that only not helps me; it actually helps the people around me. I'm surrounded by my own family. Then I'm surrounded by the many families who join me, and I felt by taking this decision. Of course, with my looks, I'm not a Shah Rukh Khan or I'm not a Amitabh Bachchan. I couldn't make it big in Bollywood, but the love I have received from the communities that have embraced me, and the 2 trips I have taken to India, the love I've received from the sadhus, the saints, and the many villages I have visited, and during our programs, I felt I was on top of the world, and I felt much bigger celebrity than the Shah Rukh Khans, the Amitabhs back in India, though I was not born there. And this was all successful through my dedication to save my Sadguru and my Sadguru Kabir Sahib. And if we take one step, I'm always I always felt this in my life, that he takes 5 steps for you and creates the opportunities and the mindset and the calmness in your life that you can achieve the great things like being successful in life. At the same time, you learn about the values of being satisfied with what you have. And also I find that using his name, we could also save our community. I save in charitable organizations like the Lions Clubs, the Children's Cancer Foundation over here, and with the daan and the offerings that I receive from people, I'm able to contribute to this great cause, and at the same time, I'm able to carry forward the legacy of my ancestors, and also carry forward the journey that I took in my life to find my Sadguru and to hear that anhad sound. So we all have that sound in us, as our Sadguru Kabir Sahib says, "Moko kahan dhoonde re bande, moko kahan dhoonde re bande, मैं तो तेरे पास में हूँ." In this little couplet, he's trying to say, I'm not in the mountains of Kailash. I'm not in the streets of Banaras. I'm not in the ghats of the Ganges. I'm not in a mosque, neither I'm in temples. I'm always within you. And he was always trying to say, and we too sometimes get carried by all the ritualistic side of things and our worship. But what he said, the most powerful thing that we have is our Atma, which actually that light actually keeps burning inside, which keeps this body operating. And when it turns off, the body merely turns into dust or stone or soil. So that Atma is our biggest asset, and to realize that through a guru is what is the biggest achievement, I would say, to do the great thing that this Atma requires us to do. And while doing that, it helps us to pedal through this world and be sound through our mind, be content through our heart, and achieve the great things that we are all destined to achieve in foreign countries like America, Australia. The opportunities are great, but of course, at the same time, we want to be peace. We want that peace around us. We want that. Sahib says, "Daya, garibi, bandagi." Daya means compassion, and have compassion for others. And at the same time, garibi, it doesn't mean we can't be rich. Garib means poor. But Sahib here is saying garibi means to detach from all the attachments and expectations. When we don't have expectations from life, we try to save our family, our communities, everyone around us, our country, and of course our religious backgrounds. Though Sahib did not try to segregate us in various religions, he always talked about universal values, universal human values, and things like that. He was very against calling people Hindus, Muslims, Sikhs, and Isais, because he was Kabira khada bazaar mein mange sabki thaur, na kahon se dosti, na kahon se bair. So these little things, if we put in our life, and if countries even put in their manifestos and their political, that if we love everyone and we don't have animosity with anyone, life's such a great shiny asset that we have all received. Thank you.
आपने बहुत अच्छा बताया, और मैं सभी दर्शकों को मैं ये बता दूं, सभी भक्तजनों को भी बता दूं कि ये थोड़ा सा जो पार्ट अभी जो अपने बच्चों के लिए, अपने आने वाले जनरेशन के लिए, जिसके लिए हम और वो भी एक्सक्यूज निकालते हैं कि ओ वी कैन नॉट डू इट बिकॉज यू नो दैट धर्म थिंग इज नॉट फॉर अस, वी आर एजुकेटेड हियर, वी जस्ट वर्क मोस्टली फोकस्ड ऑन आवर डे टू डे एक्टिविटीज. So that show them the clip, so that way at least they will encourage, we will encourage, we will get satisfied, and we will can thank you a lot for that.
I'd like to, sorry, Sahib, I'd like to mention an incident I actually experienced with little children, my
Please.
own children. Yes, they grew up when iPads were around and all those gadgets, and they're always on their phones, always on their games and things like that. So one day and as I mentioned, that I take Hindi classes and Sunday satsangs and meditation for our children over here. So one day I asked them all to sit down, and I asked them to sit on the floor just to test. And I said, okay, take the posture like we meditate, and as our Sahib sit. So that's actually getting their back straight and asking them to have their hands like that and sit. And actually, they had some. Even my kids, they had never done that before. But when I asked them to do that, I could see it was already naturally there. And I could feel that they yearned for it already. And I made them meditate, and it was one of the best sessions I've ever had. And about 5 or 6 of these kids have never had any meditation, or they have never learned about how to do these things, and it was naturally there. So all we needed to do was just to put some water and some fertilizer, and it happened. And I could see the calmness, the peace that they received was amazing. Yeah. So they have all these things, as I said, they have all these gadgets, their hands are on these things. But if you just take it away from them, and for 15, 20 or 30 minutes of meditation on Sunday, or 5 minutes every day, I feel it makes a big difference on their life. And even with their day-to-day stuff that they have in schools and things like that. Yeah.
Right. No, very good. और वो आपसे सभी कुछ सीखेंगे हम, और
Of course.
बच्चों को भी सिखाएंगे.
जी
तो
हाँ.
let me remind everyone where he is right now. There is a 3 a.m. to 4 a.m. period in the morning, and you can see still he is very energetic to tell us that, but still he is taking his time on Monday morning. Still he has to do those rituals every day, what he does, like meditations and all the stuff. But look at, for us, sacrificing with smiling face, જે પહેલા બહેનોએ આપણા માટે જે ભજન ગાયું કે ખુશી ખુશી રહેવાનું, એમને જે આપવામાં પણ ખુશી થાય છે. હવે આજે થોડો સમય એમનો વધારે નથી રહેતા. એક રાજુભાઈનો ક્વેશ્ચન છે, રાજુભાઈને હું બોલાવું છું સ્ક્રીન પર, અને રાજુભાઈ તમે જે કહેવા માંગો છો પૂછી લો, ને પછી આપણે રેપ અપ કરીએ.
बंदगी विमल दास जी.
साहेबंदगी.
बस, तो आपने जो ये आज अपना परिचय दिया और अपनी बात की, और जो being a professional and still following the spiritual path and serving, this is a rare combination. तो यहाँ पे जो uh, हम तो भारत से हैं, तो हम तो थोड़े कन्विंस हो जाते हैं जल्दी से, और साहब की कृपा से हम अपनी अपनी खुद की जर्नी में साहब को लेकर ही हम चलते हैं, उसकी सीख कर। लेकिन जो आपने बताया कि भाई जो जो यंग जनरेशन है, जो करियर ओरिएंटेड है, वेल एजुकेटेड है, हेमंत भाई ने भी बात की और आपने भी की, तो ये और यंग पेरेंट्स हैं, तो क्या होता है कि जो यंग पेरेंट्स वेल एजुकेटेड दोनों की यहाँ तो करियर होती है, तो उनके जीवन में स्ट्रेस बहुत बढ़ जाता है कि वो
Exactly.
बच्चे भी होते हैं और करियर भी होती है, और उनको जो स्पिरिचुअल जो बेस मिलना चाहिए था वो नहीं मिलता।
Exactly.
वो जो कंफर्ट सुविधा मिल जाती है बिकॉज ऑफ द abundance of the you know career and wealth that they earn, but the स्ट्रेस तो साथ में ही साथ साथ ही आता है, वो तो
Exactly.
अलग कर नहीं सकते। लेकिन आपने जो वर्क लाइफ बैलेंस बताया आप खुद की, बिकॉज यू आर एन एक्सपीरियंस ऑफ यंग पर्सन एंड नॉट लाइक somebody who is just talking from a professor sitting in an education institution। तो ये जो स्ट्रेस मैनेजमेंट और वर्क लाइफ बैलेंस के कुछ थोड़ी 5-10 मिनट हमारे पास बची है, तो आप हम यंगस्टर को और हम सबको सिखा सकते हैं आपके जीवन के एक्सपीरियंस से।
Of course. Gia, as I said, I do have a very busy life out of course, being head of a few companies, and I as I said, I do have targets for myself, and I think just recently we received our numbers, and for last 10 years at least, I would go. I've been um, with the blessings, I would say, and my own contribution उसमें तो कुछ नहीं, जो कुछ है सो तो I always believe that कि साईं इतना दीजिए तामे कुटुंब समाए, मैं भी भूखा ना रहूं, साधु संत भी कोई भूखा ना जाए, और जो कुछ साहेब का दिया, but with his blessings I do, if we look at the KPIs and things like that, I've been achieving and been a number one performer in my roles and everything I touch. But that does not give me the satisfaction. I do travel. I do go from country to country, doing the professional stuff, and then I have my own young family, which requires my attention as well, which is having our older one is just turning 13, and younger daughter is turning 10 in a week's time. So I also have a young family to manage, and of course I have my community and religious stuff to go to. And as I mentioned earlier, sometimes I take a plane overnight and I'll try to be here. I still remember last two wedding anniversaries of mine. I returned from overseas trip. Last wedding anniversary, I was here on a Friday night, and Saturday I had choka program, which is I was out there doing choka, and Sunday I had the breakfast with my family, and I said, okay, I'm leaving. I have to go get back to Fiji. I think I had a project in Fiji. But I felt having that spiritual balance in life. My wife, yes, she's also a chartered accountant. She also has her own career. She works as a financial controller for a company and things like that. But we all have our lifestyles. The children have their own demands. But we felt having that center. The center was the blissfulness of Sadhguru Paramatma as the center of the family. Obstacles always stayed out, and having that positive beginning to life every morning. by the time I finish with my meditation, my older one is awake and he'll come down and join me. I posted a picture on Facebook. We have a little puppy in the house, and she actually joins in as well. As soon as I'm awake, 3:45, when I'm all dressed up like this, coming down, she'll come down and sit with me and offer her bandagi. She'll be facing towards the direction I am sitting, and she'll be and while I'm doing this, she will come and sit जहाँ मेरे पैर होते हैं. Everyone is actually doing some sort of meditation and learning. So every day the kids read at least one couplet of Guru Sahib's poems, and I translate to them and को समझाता हूँ. Over breakfast, we'll try to read a few more. And then we all go in our own directions. And then we come back as a family, we sit down. Breakfast, dinner का समय हो जाता है. And then we sit down and we talk about each other's day, कैसा गया. And then we'll talk about some little couplet of Sadhguru Kabir Sahib. And then we'll finish with meditation. I always ask kids at least 5 to 10 minutes every day, evening, sit down and let's have a session together. And on Thursdays, I do online satsangs, and families join me on Thursdays at our home as well. So we ask each other how they are doing. Are you okay? And this way we can see that the positivity that brings in people's life is just phenomenal. With all these targets in life and achievements, I never look at the numbers. I always, to me, the first priority is saving my Sadhguru, and the rest just happens. And it peacefully happens because you don't overdo things. You do things at your own pace and in a blissful state that does not stress your mind, and things just happen around you when you are in that positive mindset, and stress just does not come near you. Everyone thinks that I am a guy who would be having about 10 coffees a day, and my workplace would be riddled with papers and all that, but that's not me. That's I'm always riddled with my Sadhguru Sahib's books and vanis and grants. That's all I do, and that just brings about that positivity in life that we all yearn for.
नहीं, बहुत विमल दास जी, आपने जो आपका जो खुद का एक्सपीरियंस और प्रैक्टिकल जीवन जीते हैं आप, क्योंकि ऐसा नहीं है कि वो आप ऐसा संन्यास लेकर, वो जो कहते हैं ना कि वो बस एक वो उसको क्या बोलते हैं, कहते हैं कि वो सन्यासी जो भाग जाते हैं.
जी
ओके.
जी.
लेकिन आप जो है वो संसारी सन्यासी है, जैसे कि संसार भी चलाते हैं, बड़ी बड़ी कंपनियों के भी लीड करते हैं. आपकी वाइफ वो खुद कंट्रोलर है और आपके बच्चे हैं. तो ये सब में हाँ, ये जो हमारे जो यहाँ पढ़े लिखे हैं, करियर ओरिएंटेड, अचीविंग गोल ओरिएंटेड वक्त के जन है, तो उनको बहुत सीखना आपसे होगा. क्योंकि क्या आपकी जो यहाँ पे क्या होता है कि वेन एवर इवन मेरी 2 डॉटर और सन इन लॉ है, तो वो चार ऑल 4 ऑफ देम इन अ करियर. तो वन थिंग आई ऑलवेज हियर, आई एम टायर्ड, टायर्ड. सो आप तो दिखते हैं कि भाई 3 बजे भी सिडनी में आप you're smiling, and then you have a work like a leading a lot better, a much responsible job. तो आपसे तो हम बहुत सीखेंगे. अभी तो आप समय हो गया है और फ्यूचर में शायद रिकॉर्डिंग करेंगे. अगर आपकी सुविधा ना हो तो फिर भी ऐसे ही जो यंग कपल्स है, पेरेंट्स है, उनको हम स्पिरिचुअलिटी, स्ट्रेस मैनेजमेंट और स्टिल कैरी ऑन देयर करियर, उसके बारे में जो ब्रिज होता है, जो बैलेंस, वर्क लाइफ बैलेंस, बहुत आपके पास हम सीखेंगे. तो आपका बड़ा बड़ा आभार, कि बहुत आभार कि सिडनी ऑस्ट्रेलिया में इतनी अर्ली मॉर्निंग में भी आप हमारे लिए समय निकाला और सबको अपना ज्ञान दिया. और दिस इज एक्सपीरियंस, यू आर लिविंग दैट लाइफ. which is what I admire, and we all need your experience. Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
It's
Am I
a
back?
pleasure, Sahib, and I'm always here. As I said, ki, time is just to me. It's just when you take a step, and I'm always here, and I'll join in these sessions, and we'll share the journey with everyone. Definitely.
एक बात कही ने वो आपने रिपीट भी की which really touched me and it should everyone should remember. मैं एक स्टेप लेता हूँ तो जो मेरा विश्वास है सदगुरु 5 स्टेप मेरे लिए लेते हैं विच इज वेरी वेरी फंडामेंटल नो ये जो हमारा जो ट्रस्ट है हमारी जो श्रद्धा श्रद्धा एक शब्द है ट्रस्ट से भी बड़ा शब्द श्रद्धा है श्रद्धा होनी चाहिए कि मैं एक स्टेप लूंगा तो सदगुरु 5 स्टेप लेंगे विदाउट एनी एक्सपेक्टेशन तो इसके लिए बहुत बहुत आभार और धन्यवाद थैंक यू
Thank you.
थैंक यू राजू भाई। थैंक यू गुरु। तो आपने हम तो अभी तो कबीर जी का भी बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया गुजार है कि उन्होंने हमारे लिए 5 स्टेप्स से भी ज्यादा स्टेप लेके आपको मिलाया। और ये पूरा जो आपने सिस्टम बताया, अभी तो बहुत सारे क्वेश्चन क्यूरियोसिटी के वजह से आ रहे हैं हमारे, तो मगर टाइम जो होता है ना उसका मैनेजमेंट तो पहले करना ही पड़ता है। तो आज तो हम आपको विदा देते हैं, मगर फिर से आने का वचन के साथ। सो प्लीज कम विथ अस, प्लीज टेल
Of course.
अस many things what we don't know and what we actually knew but we didn't put in a practice. So please help us. अभी एक और चीज आपसे पूछूंगा कि आज जो अभी हम समाप्त करते हैं ना, तो हम एक प्रार्थना करते हैं। आज आपके मुख से कुछ सुनना चाहेंगे कि जो शांति प्रार्थना हमें बोलते हैं इसे, तो ये
अच्छा।
शांति प्रार्थना करेंगे, बाद में हम यहाँ से विसर्जन करेंगे। तो आप शांति प्रार्थना।
Sure. सतनाम। वंदो गुरु से तेजी भाई, वंदो सात वंश दिखाई, वंदो राय बाके जी गुरु भूपा, वंदो वंश ताई स्वरूपा, वंदो गुरु धनिधम दास अधिकारे, वंदो वंश व्यालिश प्यारे, वंदो अंश नौतम वंशा, मुक्त करे सब जग के हंसा, चुड़ामणि पंथ के राजा, उनके हाथ जीव के काजा, वंश व्यालिश दाया कीजे, कोटन कोटन बंदगी लीजे, जरा मरण दुख निवाशरण, सतनाम बहुपीर, साहिब कबीर रक्षा करो, सकल भव जल पीर, साहेब बंदगी, साहेब बंदगी, साहेब बंदगी।